Hello and welcome to Back 40 Bushcraft. And today we're here to talk about axes. Hatchets, axes, I don't know, one of those forestry things. We'll get into that. And I have too many of them. What's a guy to do? Let's get into it. I'll start with my Hultafors Egelson or something like that, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one I carry with me quite frequently. If it isn't this one, it's this one, which is my Sandvik. Now, this isn't actually mine. I gave it to my spouse Tanner, and I remember finding this with a really beat up handle at a local Tagum beach, and I brought it home, and I actually found a decent handle and hung it, and it's a slick little hatchet. Carrying on with hatchets and the likes, I found this one in the bush, and it's a bit unbeknownst to me. The handle's seen better days, but it's still holding on, so I just haven't done anything with it. It's super dull, like it needs to be worked on. I feel like I looked this up. There is a stamp on there. I'm thinking it's a Halsbrook. I have this one. Look at that cool handle. No markings on it or anything. The thing's like a wedge. So whether it was meant to, I just don't feel like it was meant to be used that way because of the way the handle sits. But maybe, if you happen to know what kind of axe head that would be, put it in the comments. As you can see, I've paid a lot of attention to keeping it on there. The S-twing. Okay, well, this one's my son's, Nico. It's the little S-twing hatchet, and it's a really cool little hatchet. I like the leather wrap on it. It could use some work to get that edge where it needs to be, but it'll still stick into the wood, you know? That's a good boy's hatchet. You know they're not going to snap that one very easy. Now this is a beauty. I feel like I pulled this out of some old shed. As you can see, it's a broad axe. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it means it's asymmetric. Flat on one side and beveled on the other. And the reason is for when you want to take a slab and make it flat. It won't dig in. I have two of these, but this one I hung myself. It's not the easiest one to hang, the way that head is all beaten in that way. And I used to bring this out with me all the time, but I don't have a sheath for it. And that's one thing I still just haven't taken on as a skill in my life. So, hey, if you know where I can get an inexpensive sheath for something like that, let me know. While on the topic of broad axes, asymmetric broad axes, this one was my dad's, and I'm sure that he hung this himself. He probably picked the axe up in a milk crate full of other axe heads at some farm in Manitoba for $2.50. I've never actually used this. I wouldn't even know. It was my dad's, you know. Made in Sweden. If you think you know what that logo is, that's a 3.5 pound. I kind of feel like that could be another Halsbrook. What we would use these for when I used to, back in the days of building custom log homes, scribes they were called, and you have a point on the bottom and a pencil on the top, and you go along the entire log, inside and out, flip it over, with a chainsaw, you cut a V. Anything that was still off of the line, we would just use the axe like this to shave it right to the line so that you were ensured a perfect fit. This one was a gift from Val, you know, and look at this little thing. You know, you can't get any force behind it or anything, but I'll tell you what, I have one of these kind of fold out, pop up little fire stoves, and it fits in this little bag, and I keep this in there because I'll tell you, if you're bringing a little saw along anyways, if you make a little baton, this thing will, if you crack it with a baton, it'll go through some wood, but you don't, you never want to have to swing it. Is this an axe? This would have been my Uncle Andres from his forestry days. He worked for the government, BC government, forestry, for a long time. Can you tell me what these are called? A little comment, something? I've never swung it. At this point, it's just to remind me of my uncle, same as that other axe is meant to remind me of my dad. This is the other half to that first tool. This is also my uncle's from his forestry days. These are called boys' axes. I'm sorry, someone needs to just go out and say, no, it's everybody's axe. Made in Sweden, but I can't really tell much more than that. To me, this looks like a Halsbrook, and this was known as the Montreal head. Somebody wants to correct me on that. Beautiful handle. It's got a chip. I don't know how much swinging's left in that handle, but it's a beauty. Nice curve, good grip. The double bit axe. Can you believe I got this out of a free pile? How do you... That's amazing. I have no clue as to anything about it. I've never looked for a maker on it even, I don't think. Beautiful handle. These things just remind me of some axe throwing parties that I attended in the Yukon. Cut to about there. The double bit axe does well that way. The maul hasn't been getting much use. I don't really trust the handle much. I actually injured my ribs, cracked my ribs a few years ago on one of the last rides of the fall before winter hit. And we always order rounds, and so I had a couple cords of rounds waiting in our back driveway, and I couldn't split anything. And so I lucked out and I actually got like this electric log splitter, and ever since then I just bust the rounds up into, you know, quarters, and then I just take care of it with a different axe. I'm pretty good with an axe, but when you're 2 cords into it and still swinging, you're just bound to get less accurate. This is our, as I said about splitting with the log splitter, everything and anything after that is done with this axe. This lives in our wood shed. It's used all day, every day. Well, not all day. Come on, settle down. Just look at that handle. I hung this, and I found this handle locally, and I believe it's an ag door competition handle, and it just feels like a forever kind of handle. But this, I was sure this is another Halsbrook's. It's a beauty anyways. This thing you can swing. Halsbrook. This one, when we bought our place, I found it growing through like maple kind of shoots coming up out of the ground. It had a rotty old handle that was only about that long. And this, I can tell you, is a Halsbrook Montreal pattern. And I got just a beautiful grained handle that I hung on there. That was actually, it wasn't just one that I found off the rack. I had to order that handle. And that is what's known as their Halsbrook Montreal boys axe. I don't have a sheath for this. This is one of those ones where if you're doing any kind of car camping, that sort of thing, this is the only axe you ever need to bring on those kind of trips. So what's a guy to do? I can honestly say when it comes to these day trips, even overnights, I don't think I would bring the Haltafors on an overnight. I would maybe certainly bring the Sandvik. And it's actually, when it really comes down to it, I'm holding the wrong axe. When it comes to my choices, I've got my Haltafors, Sandvik, my boy's axe with the Montreal pattern, and my home splitter for when you're at home. Oh man, but there is that one and that one. It's really hard to make these choices. What do you think I should do? So, what do you think? Is there too many axes? Can I really just whittle it down to like 4? Thanks for coming out. It's a wet day. But I was really excited to come check all that out. Had a good bowl of noodles. If you like the video, hit that like button. Please subscribe. What else? Comments? Hey, share. Just the way that I want to share my experiences with you. Perhaps there's someone you'd like to share those experiences to as well. I'd appreciate that. Until next time, take care. So you know this is no easy feat. When you forget your paracord, you still want to put a tarp up. You gotta improvise. So I have the string on my sled buckled up into there. I took my little strap that I used to keep my polk rails crossed for there. The little zombie hatchet has paracord on it, so I just have a couple of branches weighing that corner down. And last but not least, I had one little piece of string that I've now tied to my pole. And the pole handle is just holding on for dear life to that branch. Should be dry though.